but every time...
Waiting for the crypto markets to balance out. Right? Come on, touch. Woo!
To be honest, I've always been a little less evolved. I don't wanna rock, so let's take it from the top, shall we?
I feel everyone's going into this expecting this kind of fun musical, you know, you're portrayed by a chimp, but it goes really raw, really honest. Robbie, I was wondering, once you'd seen the final product with all the VFX, can you remember what your first impressions were?
Oh my God, this is absolutely incredible and mind-blowing, and I don't really have the words to understand why, but this feels magical and it feels massive. That was my thoughts when, you know, before everything was sewn together and Michael was showing me scenes from the movie. Yeah, it's just magical.
And it spawned out of the stories that you were telling, Michael. Was it tricky to work out what to include, what not to include, and to like merge it to make it work as a movie?
Yeah, there's some amazing stories that unfortunately I just couldn't fit into the film. And we tried multiple drafts to fit these certain moments in. And you just have to kind of go, let's go with these stories, and these we can't fit in as individual stories, but we can fold them in on top of each other, you know? So there's a couple of fold-ins that are there, and there's characters that are made up of multiple people but are represented by one person, all the classic things you do. But no, there was definitely too much in our conversations to fit in one film.
Yeah.
So, you know, stand by for Better Man 2.
Yeah.
Well, I was literally talking to a friend who came out of it. It's like Best Man, that's the sequel.
Betterer Man.
Betterer Man, yeah. That Bestest Man would be the third
yeah.
one. Like, you can just do all the different ones.
Yeah, he's doing good at being a man.
Yeah. I want to see Chimp Robbie on stage at the X Factor, back with the Tack That thing. That's what I want to see. You know, you can do it next.
Oh, there was other things that happened. Yeah, other than that too. Yeah.
Netflix TV series as well. Like, let's spin it out. Whole universe.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Right, you fingers crossed. Let's see.
There's some fun jokes in the movie about legalities and not being able to say certain things. So I was wondering, were there particular things that you wanted to? Did you get to film them and then cut them out, or was it?
No, I mean, it was at script stage. We always had to get our script signed off, and Rob rightly says everyone else kind of gets pared back except Rob.
Except me.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like,
raw deal. It's your film.
Yeah, and I'm the only real arsehole in the film.
Yeah, it is true. But yeah, we had to. There were some things that we showed a lot, but when it came to other people, there were some things.
For legal reasons, I probably wouldn't be able to prove that it happened.
Yeah, fair. Again, sequel, you can work a way around it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I
David Martin Smith or Simon Martin Smith.
Yeah.
It's not Nigel. Yeah.
Perfect. I love how it's a proper musical as well. It's not just jukebox. They're not just your original workings. Like, they're reworkings of the tracks. Was there a particular track that you really enjoyed going and revisiting and making it new for the film?
I listened to the new Rock DJ separate to the film the other day. The final version was sent over, finalised. And it's quite embarrassing when I'm watching the movie and there's one person in the cinema going, and it's me. I've had that a few times in Rock DJ where I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to rock either. And then I look around and nobody else is doing it, and I'm like, I came out humming all the songs.
Yeah, like they're really good.
Yeah,
you know, that guy who did them.
Yeah,
it's quite good. He's got talent. He can go far. Yeah.
Great singer.
Yeah, great singer.
Thank you.
That Rock D-Day sequence, I imagine, was the trickiest as well to film because it feels like 500 odd people on Regent Street. I remember seeing those set photos. Can you remember what's the memory from that day?
Oh,
just stress.
Listen.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot leading up to it. It was a year and a half of planning. It was a week of rehearsal where we had to tape out each of the 4 nights that we were planning to shoot in terms of the street, curbs, bus stops, rubbish bins, so that we could actually rehearse the double-decker bus, the taxis, the 500 dancers, the crew, and get everyone in sync before we headed out onto the street to shoot the numbers. And right at the end of the week, we got the phone call that the Queen had passed away. And so there's 10 days of mourning after the death of the Queen. So we were not shooting. And
You can't get insurance for
no,
Queen's dying.
so we lost the money. And it took us another 5 months to raise that money again and get back onto Regent Street to do it all over again. But every time...
Waiting for the crypto markets to balance out, right? Come on, touch. Woo!
If only it was that simple. Just remember my crypto password.
Yeah.
But the thing was, over that period of time, obviously we had a lot of people saying, look, you don't really need that number. You know, I'm sure you can cut that number and it wouldn't affect the film. And I was just like, no. And so every time I watch that, I just smile because I think no one has any idea at how close we came to that number not being in the film.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have Robbie dancing along as well in the
That's
cinema
right.
if that wasn't in there.
It
So we
wouldn't-
need it in there.
It
Like we
wouldn't be
need
the
it there.
same experience.
Just finally, what are you hoping, Robbie, that people take from this film when they get to see it over Christmas?
What am I hoping? Well, I would like to tell you that I did this for altruistic reasons, but I am a professional attention seeker and I really need this huge opportunity to facilitate the third act of my career. And much like the documentary, I only realised after the documentary comes out there are other reasons for this to exist too. When I wake up the next day and there's 25 emails after people have seen my documentary, thank you for telling your story, I saw a lot about myself in it and it helped me with blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, wow, I've done this really kind thing by mistake. I may have done a kind thing by mistake. You know, people walk up to me after the screenings and there are floods of tears and they commend me on my bravery, which I don't get at all, but thank you. I know that this is separate to all of the commercial reasons, therapy. And I also know, because I've witnessed it, in some sort of way, it does some sort of healing, which is also great. But I'm on tour next year. Buy tickets.
I think it's perfect. I listened to it on Spotify afterwards, don't worry, it's all good.
It was so altruistic up until the last.
It was a lovely answer.
I have to pierce the balloon with some silliness too.
Jonno, I wanted to take you back to when you got the role, though, that you're going to be playing Robbie Williams on screen, but as an ape. How can you remember what your first reaction to that was?
Well, when I was going through the audition process, I knew that if I were to get the role, it was going to be a monkey, right? But I think probably like what people are going through right now is they're told that he's going to be played as a monkey, but you can't see it, right?
Yeah.
You're thinking, is it 2D, is it animated or what? And then Michael, kind of through the audition process, showed me some sketches. And then I saw the detail. I then knew it was Weta, who had such an incredible background, you know, one of the best VFX companies in the world. And so then suddenly you go, okay, trust. You guys do your thing, and then I'll try and do my part as well. So it was really liberating. It was exciting as well. I think a lot of actors, we want a challenge, and it certainly was. You know, you've got to get people to cry and cheer for someone that they already know in a whole different image.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really exciting thing to kind of take on.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of think you forget about it after like 5 minutes of the film. It's really, really strange. Every now and then you'll remember, oh yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Raechelle, I kind of feel sometimes Robbie is this massive phenomenon over here, but didn't translate all the time to other parts of the world. So did you know much about his background with
Did
Nicole
I
and their
know
relationship? No.
Robbie Williams? My goodness. Yes, no, my mum raised me on Robbie Williams. I was a huge fan. We owned the Nebworth DVD and we wore that thing out. I was very, very aware. And so when this came around, I just assumed I would be a teeny role and just was like, oh, I have to do that for childhood Raechelle, of course. And then it turned out it was Nicole and it was the role of a lifetime. So I think when I got the role, my sister said, this is a big deal for you, but this is a big deal for our family. So no, he's got a very
Don't
big
let us
audience.
down.
Yeah.
I remember he put on a show in Melbourne with then you brought your mum.
Oh yeah.
And he played she's the one, which is obviously the big number.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Rochelle's mum's there, like,
Floods of tears, and she's saying to the audience, "She's the one," but no one knew I was in the film.
She's just been prepping you your whole life. You know,
Yeah.
just never
Oh, yeah.
even knew. That she's the one sequence I wanted to bring up because it is absolutely beautiful. Like, it's heartbreaking, it's romantic, it's so good. But filming that must have been quite tricky as well because it wasn't just a dance number, it was all the transitions and all that kind of stuff. So what's both of your memories from filming that sequence?
Well, we shot most of the transitions of their scenes of their relationships first, because the dance sequence and the scene that precedes it was shot in the last week, and so we kind of got to go on the roller coaster first, and then we just got to live in the playfulness of the romance of that scene, and it was really fun to do. I think we'd had quite, there's a lot of dark content, and then being able to dive into the playfulness of that was really fun, but quite specific in terms of, it's very technical, Michael worked really closely with the camera department and Ashley Wallen for those things. It was, your hand's here, but it should be here, so it transitions with the next shot. It was very specific. So you're trying to capture the emotion as well as the technical aspects to make sure that the effect that they got is there.
Yeah. And for you, Jonno?
Yeah, I just thought it was such a brilliant way to tell a story, kind of to chop the timeline up together. They have the meet cute, and then the audience gets to see their future play out before they do. And I think that was a really interesting way to tell the story. But also, one of my favourite moments on set was like having these burly Australian grips going like 5, 6, 7, 8. They're moving the camera around, trying to get the time. It was brilliant. Yeah.
They got so into it.
Yeah.
They were probably secretly weeping as well behind the camera as well.
Little
Like, all
bit.
this stuff.
Yeah.
And talking of that, like, I think people are going to come into this and they're like, oh, it's going to be such a fun musical. It's like Robbie, but he's like a monkey. But it does go really honest, really dark, really raw. What are you excited for that kind of reaction that people are going to get to this film? Can you imagine what they're going to say in some ways?
I'm so excited.
I can't wait,
I think they'd be really surprised. I think, especially over here, a lot of people think they know Robbie Williams, think they know his story from the version that's been told over the last 30 years of being kind of such a front page person of the press, and now they're going to see a whole different side to it. And I don't think they're going to expect the honesty, and I don't think they're going to expect the vulnerability, how exposed he is as himself in the story. And I think that'll be a really nice surprise for people.
Yeah, I think people are going to be able to sort of rediscover him. Like you say, they're going to learn all these new things about him that they didn't know before, but they're also, what we've done and what Jonno's really done is captured the essence of Robbie. Watching it, I was really struck as a fan by, this is how a film about Robbie is supposed to feel. So we're going to get that feeling, but then you're also going to get this education on the man as well, behind the superstar.
Yeah, there's such an emotional through line with this, with his nan, which I feel feeds into that. And you get to work with absolute British icon. Like, it's almost a cheat casting her as a lovely grand that everyone wants to be with. What was it like working with Alison Steadman?
As you said, she is such an icon over here. And Kate Mulvaney, who plays the mum as well, I think it's a really testimony to that these two ladies had actually quite small parts in terms of screen time, but had such a huge impression on the film. The tenderness of Alison Steadman really comes through in the story. And I used to choke up when one of the last lines of the films is like, "Nan, this is your grandson," and of course I thought about my own nan, but I was thinking about her as well and wanting to make her proud. And yeah, it was an honour to be on the screen with her.